歡迎返到嚟一男一女旅行嘅旅。我之前講呢，朱諾一日呢係玩唔晒，所以呢要嚟多幾次或者住多幾日。苦等11年再遊朱諾嗰條片呢，就介紹咗喺朱諾睇冰川、睇瀑布、睇黑熊、睇阿拉斯加民族舞、坐直升飛機、爬冰川、品嘗海鮮等等。今集咧就講下狗拉雪橇車同埋 Tracy King Crab Shack 嘅皇帝蟹。呢次咧係我哋第3次嚟，因為咧今年5月嚟嗰陣時候咧就玩得意猶未盡。朱諾咧一年平均只有86個晴天嘅啫。9月中咧好多地方咧仍然係秋天，但喺朱諾咧已經感到冬天嘅寒冷啦。喺郵輪房間向外望呢，朱諾如美人初醒，曉色覺不睡，捲簾清氣中。我哋乘坐嘅旅遊巴士呢，就駛過朱諾大橋，嚟到喺森林裏邊嘅木舍營地。由於我哋當日係第一批遊客啦，一群混種嘅阿拉斯加哈士奇狗呢，見到我哋就超興奮，又吠又叫，開心不已。阿拉斯加犬同埋哈士奇都一樣咧，天性活潑好動。除咗個樣相似之外咧，個性都相近嘅，都係精力特別旺盛嘅雪橇狗。講到雪橇狗咧，好多人都會聽講過話雪橇3傻，佢哋咧就係喺極寒地帶裏邊拉雪橇嘅3種狗，分別咧就係阿拉斯加犬、哈士奇同埋薩摩耶。以阿拉斯加犬嘅體型咧就最壯，力氣最大。混種狗嘅體格咧就更加好，時速咧可以去到每小時20英里，連續奔跑40英里咧唔使休息嘅。純犬師一聲令下，12隻哈士奇咧就拉住6位乘客迅速開跑。嗱，而家咧就等我哋一齊欣賞下佢哋嘅速度先。呢條賽道咧充滿樂趣嘅，兩旁咧就構成熱帶雨林嘅雲杉同埋鐵杉樹。純犬師阿 Will 咧就咁講嘅。
So G means right, H means left. You also might hear me give an on by. That just means keep on doing what you're doing. So I might give that at the intersection. I want them to go straight up, or if I want them to stop and miss or slow.
之前有人話咧，狗咧見到肉咧就跑得特別快嘅。今次啲狗咧見唔到肉咧，但係都跑得好快。返到起點啦，阿 Will 咧就逐隻狗介紹，包括佢哋個名啦、佢嘅習性啦。客人咧仲可以同啲狗狗互動、影相、打卡。
This is Hawkeye right here, and this is Bob, and they would love your attention.
之後咧就店家就更加貼心為客人安排咗熱朱古力。另一位純犬師 Elizabeth 咧就帶領啲客人咧就探望出世幾個禮拜嘅狗仔，仲俾啲客人咧就擁抱啲狗 BB， 同佢哋喺度玩，十分之溫馨。呢啲狗仔 BB 咧係非常之受歡迎嘅，同佢哋打卡咧幾乎係指定動作。呢個旅程咧全程係2個半鐘，雪狗拉車嗰部分咧大概係半個鐘度。阿拉斯加哈士奇犬曾經係當地嘅重要運輸工具，後嚟咧因為汽車嘅普及咧，佢哋咧就逐漸被淘汰啦，數量咧就急劇下降。有個當地人 Joe Reddington Senior 咧就有見及此咧，就喺73年咧就發起一個長途嘅雪橇賽，全程咧就1100英里，需時咧就8至15日。人同埋狗咧中途可以停靠24個唔同嘅村莊，補充物資、取暖進食、沐浴休息。喺片尾咧有幾分鐘原裝錄影，係由 Elizabeth 以英文講解雪橇嘅裝備、狗隻嘅保護同埋呢個標誌性嘅雪橇賽。請大家繼續收睇。其實咧木舍營地本身係一個景點啊，最吸睛嘅部分咧就係一條環抱2棵百年杉樹，橫跨 Fish Creek 嘅吊橋。靜靜咁喺吊橋上面欣賞呢啲荒野景色，綠樹林蔭，野花遍地，冰水咧喺溪中流淌，喺亂石中遊蕩，參天大樹，草豐茂，就帶點清幽。漫步喺林間咧，鳥語花香，風景如畫。呢啲極自然景色就令我陶醉，同啱啱刺激嘅雪橇狗車咧形成鮮明嘅對比。本來咧森林睇雪係一種儒雅，但可惜咧天氣實在太凍啦，得華氏40-50度，唯有咧不捨離開就返回暖氣巴士。對比木舍營咧， 朱諾市區咧係風和日麗，一片暖洋洋。我哋徘徊喺街頭商鋪，咁啊睇到有一家郵輪公司喺 Tracy King Crab Shack 嗰度咧就拍宣傳片，咁啊好奇之下咧就跟隨拍攝隊伍咧就步入餐廳，咁啊叫咗3磅皇帝蟹，就一邊睇人哋拍片啊一邊咧就大快朵頤啦。11年前咧同屋企人第一次嚟朱諾咧食過地道嘅阿拉斯加皇帝蟹之後咧，成家人咧從此咧就中意食蟹。上次咧就每人半磅，就少食多滋味。今次就唔係啦，每人磅半，大飽口福。咁啊，崔西小屋嘅皇帝蟹咧就貨真價實，重量咧就以煮熟計，連肉帶殼咧6隻蟹爪蟹腳，1300磅。從落鑊至到上台，客人咧可以全程監察，真材實料。仲隨餐附送 coleslaw 麵包同埋牛油。我之前咧係唔識分澳洲嘅柏斯尼亞蟹同埋阿拉斯加蟹嘅分別嘅，而家咧食上癮啦。每年2、3月咧就係旺季，但係近年咧價錢咧就不停上升。即使喺 Costco 咧就急凍嘅熟蟹腳咧都要成40-50蚊美金一磅。餐廳嗰啲游水皇帝蟹就價格更之貴啦，好似佢個名咁樣就皇帝級數。回顧之前3次遊覽朱諾，各式各樣嘅活動咧，從爬冰川、海洋節到食皇帝蟹，動靜皆宜，內外兼收。出外旅行咧就係咁噶啦，就唔可能次次都好似皇帝式享受，度度都係蓬萊仙境嘅。旅遊咧存在於自己係咪樂在其中嘅啫，係一種探索，一種體驗。如果淨係沉醉於打卡放閃嘅呢，使乜舟車勞頓離鄉別井啦？好啦，多謝大家收睇，請大家留言分享你嘅睇法，同埋繼續收睇 Elizabeth 後邊嘅英文講解。多謝，拜拜。
So my name's Elizabeth. If you didn't catch that earlier, I'll be here with you for the rest of the tour. We've got probably 10-15 minutes to talk about the winter side of dog sledding, racing, gear that we use in the winter, and then we'll go drink some hot chocolate, sit around the fire, and if you want to, we have puppies that you can snuggle with. So yeah. Did your Mushers explain the difference to you between your Siberian and your Alaskan Huskies? Now for you guys a little bit. So the Siberians or Malamutes are your really big fluffy dogs. What people will usually think of when they imagine dog sledding. That's kind of what you'll see in like Balto or Togo movies. And those dogs did pull sleds back in the day, but they would hold freight and cargo using a sled like this. So your freight sled sits very low to the ground, made of wood, so it's very heavy, very sturdy, and does not move around much. So you're not going very fast with this sled. You're not going in and out of narrow trail. It would have just gotten all of your goods safely from one place to another. Those dogs also wore a different style of harness. So their harnesses would look like this. You've got the dog's head that goes here, arm on either side, and this post would get put behind the dog's tail. So when they're pulling those heavy loads, all that power could be in the front, in the shoulders, and none of the weight sat on your dog's hips. So you can think of those dogs like your bodybuilders. They are very, very strong, but they're very bulky, very slow, and not very good for running fast. In the 50s and 60s, Mushers wanted a faster dog. The planes and trains had taken over for the distribution of supplies, so they started mixing Siberians, Malamutes, Shepherds, Labs, Hounds, anything to make a better sled dog. And all of these dogs are bred for how well they pull a sled and not at all what they look like, because that doesn't determine if they're good at pulling a sled or not. So you probably did see some of those Lab, Shepherd, or Hound traits coming through in some of these dogs. Since about the 70s, nothing else has been heavily mixed in, but those traits definitely still come through. They also changed the sled. So whereas that sled weighs about 60 pounds and can hold up to 1,000 pounds worth of cargo, this sled weighs about 30 pounds. Filled with all your gear, it's going to be less than 100 pounds. It also has a lot more flexibility and wiggle room to it. So you're going to be going a lot faster with this sled and a lot more narrow trail. And when you're steering a sled, you need to shift your body weight back and forth so that you don't hit any trees. So they made the sled a bit more flexible so that you don't run yourself into any trees. Pretty important. In the early 70s, dog sledding was starting to die out as a whole, largely due to the snowmobile. So it was becoming a lot easier just to gas up and care for 1 or 2 snow machines than it was to feed and harness 15 to 20 dogs. Joe Reddington Sr. noticed that trend of dog sledding starting to die out and wanted to get people excited about the race again. So he started the Iditarod, which is an 1,100-mile dog sled race here in Alaska. You've also got the Yukon Quest. That's another 1,000-mile race, started about 10 years later, and not by Mr. Reddington, but just as a way to further promote dog sledding and keep people excited about it. To run the Iditarod, you're going to have a team of 14 dogs, starting here in Anchorage, making your way to Nome. There's 2 routes the mushers are going to go, so the even years are going to go north, and odd years are going to go south. When he created the race, he wanted to involve as many native interior villages as he could, and doing 2 alternate routes just helped him do that a little bit easier. And then for reference, we are right here in Juneau, so it kind of shows you where we're at on the map here. You'll see these boxes along the way are your different checkpoints. So there's 20 checkpoints ranging from 20 to 100 miles apart in distance. You have to stop at each checkpoint so a race vet can look at all the dogs on the team and make sure everybody's staying healthy. If one of your dogs develops a stomach bug, sore wrist, sore shoulder, they can be taken out of your team and they're going to stay with the vets. The mushers will continue in the race but with 1 less dog. So they're going to start with 14. They can drop them along the way, but they cannot add any new dogs in. You do have to finish and pull into Nome with at least 5 dogs on your team. So it can't be you and 1 or 2 Alaskan Huskies. Most teams that are finishing are coming in with between 8 to 12 dogs. And any that got dropped along the way will get flown to the starting or finishing line depending on where's closer to home for the musher.